Koine, and welcome to Parsing John. Today we're starting a completely new paragraph in John chapter 1. We're going to be going through from verse 35 through verse, I believe, 42. Today, considering the length of 35 and 36, we're going to tackle two of them together, though normally probably only one per video. This is the rubric of everything that we're looking for as we go through the text. We want to make sure to parse all of the words, know exactly what their form is, so that we can have a very clear idea of what their function is, and then just come up with a basic translation. So let's go ahead and get started. Te apalrion palin heisteke ho ioannes kai ekton matheton autu duo, kai emblepsas toi Iesu pere patunti lege, ide ho amnos tu theu. And that's where we're going to stop today. Very first thing that you want to find in translating, as said gazillion times before, sorry for repeating myself, is the verb. As we take a look at this first line, we see that steike has our verbal ending there in epsilon iota. And since we've got this kappa right here as the end of the stem, we know that this is going to be either a perfect or a pluperfect. As we take a look at this epsilon and iota right here, and knowing that this verb comes from, I think, histemi, that this would have to be pluperfect. So third person singular, pluperfect, active, and indicative from the fourth principal part. Had stood. And I think this is the third pluperfect verb we've come across. It's always interesting when you come across a pluperfect. Anyway, and then we want to make sure that when we know our subject, we have a singular verb, so we want a singular subject, except if the noun is neuter, in which case we can have a plural subject and a singular verb, and Greek is crazy that way. So we look before us, we see that we have an article, but we have two adverbs right there, so they can't work for that order. And then after this, we've got ho, which is from ho, he, to, our articles. So this one is going to be nominative, singular, masculine, and we found our subject. It's John again. These two together. John had stood. When and where? Well, going back to te, I believe that we've seen this construction before. Also, this is dative, singular, feminine, with apaureon, and those two together make a dative of time. When, that would be on the next or following day. Adverb. Palin just means again, which is not spelled with that in right there, or furthermore. But again, makes more sense in our context here. On the next day again, the John had stood, the specific one, not any old one. Moving on, kai is conjunction, and ek is a preposition. Ek takes the genitive in its object. As we take a look at it, we've got ton, matheton, and autu. Ton and matheton are clearly genitives, but autu is also clearly a genitive. So we will need to figure out which one of these is intended as the object of the preposition and which one of these is being used as a partitive or a genitive or something like that. But genitive, plural, masculine, genitive, singular, masculine or neuter. But since we've got John right there, it's going to be masculine, not neuter. So it could either be and from the disciples of him, or from him of the disciples. Clearly, the first one makes a lot more sense than the second. So the prepositional phrase ends here. From the disciples of him, or we could just say his. And then the last word in our sentence, duo. Duo here, it appears to be a nominative, and of course, since it's a cardinal numeral, it would have to be plural. Cardinal numeral number 2, so it can only be plural. and then doesn't really have a gender, but we can say masculine. 2, and then 2 would go over here. I could be wrong about the case. My grasp of ancient numbers is terrible at best. So our first verse is, on the next day again, the specific John had stood, and 2 from his disciples. We don't really have a verb in there, so I'm not sure what's going on exactly with that, but we can take a look at our next verse, and see if that sheds any light on what we've got going on. Kai is the first word of 36, so another and. Emblepsos here looks like a verb. So we take a closer look at it, though. We've got alpha sigma as our ending. Bleps is our stem. M there tells us that this is not going to be a standard indicative verb, but instead we have a participle, specifically off of the aorist stem. So this is nominative singular masculine. And aorist, as I said, almost said present. And then it's active and part. Having looked at, no, not at. And then this verb will, this participial verb will take a dative as its object. One looks at a dative in Greek, kind of like how in Greek one listens to genitive, I think, is the source of the sound, and accusative as the sound itself. But that could be my memory playing pranks on me, as it tends to do. We take a look ahead. We've got toi there, which is clearly dative, but Jesu is not dative. Looking beyond that, we've got peripatunti. That one does appear to have the iota, or all these 5 letters together making the dative end of this verb. It's another participle. Stumbling today a lot, sorry. So dative and then singular could be masculine or neuter. Present tense. Peripateo is our first person singular present active indicative. And it's just straight off of that. We don't have any vowel on the front, either between this rho and this P or before this one, to tell us that it would be aorist tense. Active part. And this one means walking about or going around. More variants of the two. The, and then Jesu, omicron, upsilon there tells us genitive, singular, masculine, of, J-E-S-U-S. Lege is our last word. Epsilon iota there tells us that we've got a third person singular. Leg is our present stem, and it is active and indicative. He said. He would be the same subject as the noun that emblepsos is modifying, which would be ho ioannes. Not going to be duo, since this is singular and this is singular, but that is plural. So this could actually be accusative. Again, I don't remember my numbers that well. Quote. Ide we've seen before. I don't remember which verse it's in, but it comes from oida, and it's just a exclamation, and it means look or behold. Ho amnos. Ho is from hoheto, nominative, singular, masculine, amnos, omicron sigma there tells us that. The lamb. Tu theou are last words. Tu also from hoheto. Sorry, I'm putting the wrong brackets. Custom has been square brackets for these things. Parentheses for prepositional phrases. My apologies. This is genitive, singular, masculine, of the particular God. And period. We don't know if he stops talking right there, So I'm not going to put any quotation marks in it unless we need to at the beginning of the next video. So far, so good. So from the beginning, we've got, on the next day again, the specific John had stood, and two from his disciples, and having looked at the walking about, or the going around of Jesus, he said, "Behold, the Lamb of the God." Now, the last thing that we need to do in this video is take a look at any nouns that are specific nouns, names like that, which do not have articles in front of them, and see which are the two different options for translating them makes the most sense. We've got John here, but he's got an article. Disciples here, but they've got an article. And we've got Jesus here, and he doesn't have an article. His his participle has an article, but he doesn't. So the two different ways of translating this would be, and having looked at the walking about of a Jesus, he said, or, and having looked at the walking about of Jesus, he said. So, as with, I think, pretty much every single time that we've done this, the indefinite a Jesus sounds kind of weird, and it's not as specific as our author here, John the Apostle, has been. He's very specific. This specific John, these specific disciples, the specific God. So indefinite is not something that he's done much at all with nouns of this type. So that one just, it doesn't not work here. It could work, but it doesn't fit very well. Having no article at all makes a lot more sense in the English translation. Let's move on. Amnos has article, and of course Theou has an article. So we only have the one in there. Could go either way, but no article makes a lot more sense than the indefinite article. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this, all these two verses with me today, has been helpful for you. And I hope you continue along with these videos. We're getting pretty close to the end, and by pretty close, I mean almost 20 verses away. Have a good day.